The Tombs of Amascut is one of the most accessible raids in the game due to its invocation system. Whether you are a complete noob at PvM, a somewhat decent PvMer, or a Grandmaster, you can tweak these invocations to make the raid right for you. But because of these invocations and because of the way that raids work, this has led to very confusing drop rates. So confusing that even Jagex had to tweak them multiple times. But today we're gonna get rid of all that confusion and we are gonna be deep diving into the Tombs of Amascut drop rates. We are going to be answering what the fastest way to get a shadow is for your particular skills level, whether you should be doing this raid with your friends or you should do it solo, and of course how long will it take to greenlog the Tombs of Amascut. But first we have to start with the basics, so let's talk about the point system. You see, for every point of damage that you do within the Tombs of Amascut, you get points. And these points play a very big role in the purple chance that you are going to get. Now, because the points are awarded based on damage, when you increase the raid level, the bosses gain more HP and therefore you gain more points from killing them. For example, if I solo a raid by myself with a raid level of 0, I am expected to get 11,169 points. But if I up that raid level to, let's say, 150, then I'm expected to get 15,141 points. So that is a 35.5% increase in points. Does that mean that I am 35% more likely to get a purple in a 150 raid level than I am in a 0 raid level? Well, no. And that's because of multiple things. First off, Jagex doesn't want you to gain certain purples below certain raid levels. You can check this by checking the items that are grayed out when you are selecting your invocations and raid level. And the way that works is if you have a raid level between 0 and 50, you're really not supposed to get any purples. So what the game will do if you roll a purple between raid level 0 and level 50 is it will force you to do another 1 in 50 roll, and only if you get that roll you will get the purple. This effectively makes purples 50 times rarer than they should be at these raid levels. Now, starting at raid level 50, this restriction is lifted for the Lightbearer and Osmund's Fang, and starting at level 150 you can complete all of the items. So even though a 150 level raid only offers 35% more points than a level 0 raid, the odds of you getting a purple is actually 100 times bigger. But so let's have a look at how we can actually calculate this purple chance for raid levels 150 and up. You see, the points are just one part of the equation in the purple chance. The total purple chance for raid levels 150 and higher is given by this formula: the total amount of points that you got within a raid divided by what we're going to call the purple denominator. And the purple denominator is basically saying how many points do you need in order to get a 1% chance at a roll of a purple. Now, the formula for the purple denominator is this: 10,500 minus 20 times the skilled raid level. And that means that if you skill the raid level up, you're gonna need fewer amounts of points to roll a purple. So that means that for our purple chance, there's two things happening at the same time. If we take a look at this graph, our raid points increase fairly linearly by increasing the raid level. But we also see that the amount of points that we need for a 1% purple chance decreases with raid level. If we combine these two, so divide the amount of points we have by the purple denominator for each raid level, then we get this graph for a solo raid. And that is your purple unique chance from a raid level of 150 all the way to 600. And now from this graph, let's have a look at our earlier question. At a raid level of 150, we are expected to get 15,141 points. But at a raid level of 300, we are expected to get 19,114 points. So by increasing your raid level from 150 to 300, you only get approximately 26% more points. However, your purple chance more than doubles from 2.0 to 4.2%. And it's all because of the combined effect of the points increase and the purple denominator decrease. But let's have a closer look at this graph to see if there's any other lessons we can learn. First of all, what you should see is that if you're gonna do Tombs of Amascut, you should at least be able to pull a 150 invocation raid. If you're doing anything under the 150, the odds of you getting a purple drastically go down. And what we also see is that your purple chance increases faster between 150 and 300 than it does for 300 and upwards. So it might be a good strategy to, if you start at 150, keep slowly pushing up to 160, 170, 180, because you'll get a significant amount of extra purple chance for each extra raid level that you get. And once you get at 300, it starts to slow down a little bit. But that's just for solo. Let's have a look what happens if we add the graph for 2 players or 3 players or even 8 players. Then how does the situation change? Well, as you might expect, the shape for all these is very similar. And at 8 players, you even see that it flattens out right near the 600 invocation mark. This is because Tombs of Amascut has a cap on the purple chance per raid. It is capped at a 55% chance, which at an 8-man raid, you reach at the invocation level of 590. But so now the question becomes, for purple chance, is it more efficient to do a raid in a group than it is to do it solo? Well, let's have a look at raid level 300 as an example. Solo, we see that the purple chance is approximately 4.2%. For a team size of 2, that is 8.1%, and for a team size of 3, it is 11.9%. Now let's say everyone within the raid is getting an equal amount of points, and we are only interested in our personal purple chance and not the purple chance of the raid group altogether. Then we can change these graphs to show the individual purple chance at different raid levels for different group sizes. And then what we see is that per raid, a solo raid will have the best purple chance out there. But naturally, that doesn't tell the entire story. You see, generally speaking, the more people you have in your raid group, the faster the raid is completed. And if we account for that and we look at the pure purples per hour, then we get the following. And here we've assumed that a 1-man 300 raid level takes approximately 23 minutes, a 2-man takes 22 minutes, a 3-man takes 21 minutes, and an 8-man takes 18 minutes. Then we see that basically the purples per hour are equal. It doesn't really matter in what group size you do TOA. Now, of course, there's multiple things to consider here, namely finding a group might take some time, and that is time lost not being in the raid, so solo might be more advantageous. But in general, you should just play with the group size you enjoy the most. Be careful though, it still really matters what your personal damage output is for your purple chance. So that means that you cannot get carried by 7 other people and you yourself don't get any points, because that does significantly hurt your personal purple chance. But this is just the chance of you getting any purple during a raid. And of course, the question we're most interested in is, what are our odds of getting a shadow? Well, for a normal raid, like Chambers of Xeric or Theater of Blood, we just take the respective drop rate of this item and multiply it by the chance that you're getting a purple in the first place, and bada bim, bada boom, there is your Twisted Bow drop rate. But the weights for the Tombs of Amascut items are dynamic. They change with raid level. So what this means is that early on, between raid level 150 and 350, the Lightbearer and the Fang are actually the most common items. But once you breach the 350 raid level, a piece of Missouri is actually more likely than either the Lightbearer or the Fang. So to get back to our question, what is the fastest way to get a shadow? Well, let's have a look at this graph right here. What this graph shows us is, given that we are getting a purple, what purple are we getting based on the raid level we are doing? So you can see that between 150 and 300, it is stable. The raids do not change, and you are most likely to get either a Fang or a Lightbearer in any given chest. However, after raid level 300, we see that the odds of getting getting a Fang or a Light Bearer start to decrease, which means that the odds of getting any of the other items must go up. And this trend continues all the way up until 500 raid level. And just like with the purple chance, we actually see a faster increase in drop chance between level 300 and 400 than we do between 400 and 500, which means that especially in that range, in the 300 to 400 range, it is worth pushing that little bit of extra invocation to get the better odds of getting a shadow. Now, let's see how much this matters in totality. At 300 raid level, you roll a purple and you have a 4.2% chance of getting a shadow. But at 500 raid level, that is a 6.1% chance. That is almost a 50% increase in the odds of getting a shadow once you've rolled a purple. Now, combine that with the fact that you're getting a higher purple chance, and we can turn it into this graph. This is the graph that shows you the exact percentage chance of getting an item at a specific raid level. And now if we look between the difference at raid level 300 for a shadow, we see that at raid level 300 it is 0.177, but at raid level 500 it is 0.451. That is almost triple the chance of getting a shadow at raid level 500 versus 300. Now let's take a look at the amount of raids you would need to complete to greenlog Tombs of Amascut. If you're starting out as a noob and you only do raids of raid level 150 and you do them solo, then on average it will take 1667 raids to complete the entire collection log. And if we push it up all the way to the other extreme to 600 raid level, you would only need to complete 257. That's more than 5 times the amount of raids that you would need to complete at level 150 compared to level 600. But of course 600s are super hard to do. So realistically, what should you be doing? Well, here, like everything else in the video, you should probably aim to get to the 300 level as soon as possible. Once you reach the 300 raid level, it is already only 792 raids to greenlog, which is more than half of the 150 raid level. And from there, you should slowly start pushing up all the way towards 500, where the amount of raids for greenlog you need is 318, which again is more than half of the ones you need at level 300. Then the difference between raid level 500 and 600 is quite sizable at approximately 60 raids, but in my professional opinion, that skill gap is not worth it. Or you could make life really easy on yourself and only send level 0 entry mode TOAs. Then you would only need to complete 161,191 raids. This will take you approximately 80,595 hours, or a little over 9 years of playing RuneScape 24 hours a day. Have fun!